We are talking lesson 2.3 today. And as we talk lesson 2.3, it's linear functions in slope-intercept form. This is all Algebra 1 review. Now, that being said, does that mean I expect you to know exactly what I'm doing already? No. I'm still going to teach it, guys. I'm going to teach it like you know nothing about what you're doing. But my hope is that we know some of this, okay? It's just a matter of digging it out of the depths of your brain and remembering what to do. Slope. I don't know, do you remember anything about slope? Okay. The phrase I like to use is rise over run. Height over distance would be equivalent. So, but yeah, I like to think rise over run. That's not mentioned on here, so I am going to write it in because that is a typical phrase we use for slope. And then, so we have two ways that we usually talk about slope. One is rise over run. The other is listed right there. Do you remember using that one? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Basically, when you're, I like rise over run if we have a graph, if we have a picture. But if I don't, if I just have two ordered pairs listed, I like y minus y over x minus x. Okay, so we're going to be working with slope a lot today. And then slope-intercept form. Do you remember slope-intercept form? It's like one thing out of Algebra 1 that you hopefully became very familiar with. What do you remember? Okay. Y equals mx plus b. What are those m and b? Do we remember what m and b are? M is slope. And your hint right here, it does say m equals over by slope. No, I know you didn't see it, so it's fine. B is the y-intercept. Okay? So when we talk about y equals mx plus b, x and y are x and y. Those are variables. M is slope. B is y-intercept. So I am hopeful that that sounds familiar. I'll write that in. M is slope. B is y-intercept. Okay? So, jumping into problem 1. Given two ordered pairs, what is the slope of the line that passes through the points? So on A, negative 3, 7, and negative 1, 4. How am I going to find slope? What do you remember, Brooke?
You take the y2 minus the y1 and then over. Negative 1 minus negative 3.
Okay. So, and while we're going to subtract y's and subtract x's, right? Remember, do I need to put this reminder up here? In an ordered pair, it's xy, right? Do we need that reminder? xy, xy. Most of you don't, but just in case. So when we subtract the y's on top, try to remember which way she said the x's. Which way do you guys want to subtract the y's on top? You're probably going to tell me 4 minus 7. Is that what you're going to tell me? Okay. So if I do 4 minus 7 here, that's y minus y. What order must I do on bottom? X minus x, specifically x2 minus x1, so negative 1 minus negative 3. Okay? And that was because we picked 4 minus 7 on top, we picked negative 1 minus negative 3 on bottom. What is 4 minus 7? Negative 3. Negative 1 minus negative 3? 2. I teach keep, change, opposite, which means it's negative 1 plus 3, which is 2. Improper is good. I'm perfectly fine with improper. When we talk slope, we don't usually talk decimals. We usually talk fractions, unless it can go to a whole number. Did anyone do 7 minus 4 on top? I mean, if it was me doing it on my own, not standing up here teaching, I personally would have done 7 minus 4 on top. If we did the opposite order on top, what would that mean on bottom? Opposite order right as well, right? If I did 7 minus 4, I would have had to do -3 minus -1. It doesn't matter which pair you start with as long as you stay consistent. And the difference would be I would have +3 over -2, but it's equivalent. Okay, B. You ready to talk B? The ordered pair is 3, 1 and -4, 1. What am I going to put on top?
1 minus 1.
Okay, 1 minus 1, because those are my values.
Pardon the interruption. Mrs. Fields, could you please call 1160?
They couldn't get her over the phone.
They couldn't get it over the radio. It just, there's so many jokes, because usually it's kids getting in trouble getting called to her. But now Mrs. Fields is being called for, so. Okay, 1 minus 1 on top. What do you guys want on bottom? Okay, -4 minus 3. Y minus y over x minus x. 1 minus 1 is 0. -4 minus 3. -7. You must go one more step. Don't ever stop and leave a 0 within a fraction. Go one more step and tell me, what is 0 divided by -7? 0. And if you put that on your calculator is going to come back and tell you 0. Now, if you're doing 0 divided by 7, your calculator is going to tell you 0. Okay, so when 0 is on top, our answer is 0. If I have 0 cookies to share with 7 of my friends, then each of my 7 friends are going to get 0 cookies. Sorry about your luck, right? So, Math Excel won't let you put a 0 over 7. I won't give you full credit if you put a 0 over 7. I want to know that you know 0 divided by 7 is 0. Okay, C. 7, comma, -3, and 7, comma, 1. Y minus y. What are you doing on top? 1 minus -3 on top. If I do 1 minus -3 on top, what am I doing on bottom? 7 minus 7. Good. What is 1 minus -3? 4. Again, remember, I teach keep change positive, so minus negative is plus. What is 7 minus 7? 0. Okay. There's a 0 in my answer. You can't stop. I won't let you stop. Math Excel won't let you stop. What is 4 divided by 0? Okay. This is where your calculator is going to say error. If 0's on bottom and you put 0 in second to your calculator, this is where your calculator is going to come back at you error. However, that's not what Math Excel wants, and that's not what I want either. Okay, we're not going to say error. When we're talking about the slope of a line, we're going to call it an undefined slope. Okay, undefined or no slope. I honestly don't remember which way Math Excel goes. I'm fine with either of these wordings. Undefined, whoops, or no slope.
I think it's undefined.
Is that what Math Excel does?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so if 0's in the problem, don't stop, right? Okay. Let's do D, and then we'll probably jump down and do some other stuff. 5, comma 4, and 8, comma 1. Peggy, what are you putting on top?
1 minus 4.
Okay. Since Peggy put 1 minus 4 on top, Kogan, what are you going to put on bottom?
8 minus 5.
Okay, 8 minus 5. Good. 1 minus 4 is negative 3. 8 minus 5 is positive 3. What is negative 3 divided by positive 3? Negative 1. Or in other words, a 3 divided by a 3 is a 1. And negative divided by a positive is a negative. Thank you. Sorry about that. I did forget to get it on the screen there. Although hopefully if you're listening, you're able to fill it in as you went. Okay. You guys got a handle on this slope thing, right? Even if you didn't remember it from Algebra 1, it's coming back to you. That's my hope. I will tell you if you want to do E or if you've already done E and want to check, E you get an answer of 1. And F you get an answer of undefined. Did you do them right? If you worked ahead of me, right? If I skip problems, something like that, I try and give you the answers because some of you will drive you crazy if I don't. But I don't know if I got it right or wrong. Okay, this next section is just about drawing some pictures in. Knowing what a slope looks like if it's a positive slope. So if we have a positive slope, what's that line look like? Where's it going? Up. Okay, and we could draw this at any angle we wanted to. There's my example of a line with a positive slope. It's an increasing line. As you move right and those x values are getting bigger, you're moving up and the y values are getting bigger. So it could be steeper, it could be less steep, but that's an example of a positive slope, moving up to the right. What about negative slope? Okay, the other way, right? It's moving down. Oops. I just drew one that was a little steeper, just to give you, something there, but it's a little steeper. It's going down, quickly, but it's going down. That's the key. What about a zero slope? Zero looks like
One that goes up and down.
horizontal. Hold that thought though, okay? So a zero slope is horizontal because think about, if you think about the zero example up above, it had a rise of 0 and a run of 7. Well, what's a rise of 0 mean? That means you go up and down none, right? And then run means you go left and right all you want. And so a zero slope is the horizontal. Now, what about no slope? That's the vertical one, okay? This is the no slope or the undefined. And in this case, if you remember what we did for undefined or no slope up above, 0 was in the denominator, right? So this would be having like a rise of 4 and no run. And we could have that. We can go up and down however many we need. There's a plenty of rise, but there's no run. Okay? So, just good to be familiar with those pictures. I mean, if you're graphing something, you know it's supposed to have a negative slope, and then you get done, you're like, wait a minute, that's going the wrong way. This is where it's helpful to know what it should look like. Okay, let's write some equations. We've got 4 different examples here. We're going to start with, okay, if they give us m equals 1/5 and the y-intercept 0, -3, we're going to write an equation. Now, what is the one form of the equation we're using today? Y equals mx plus b. If you walk out of here knowing nothing else, like, oh my gosh, this carries forward in so many places of math, okay? Y equals mx plus b. So as we look at example A, we're trying to write an equation that's y equals mx plus b form. And what do I have to be able to fill in here? M and b. X and y are your variable. We just need to know an m and a b value. Thoughts? Okay, it gives us a slope, doesn't it? I mean, can it be any more obvious? M equals 1/5. Okay, there we go, folks. We got M. That was hard work, I know. What about B? Do we have B? What's B stand for? The y-intercept. So if B stands for the y-intercept, yeah, right here we have x, y. Our y value is -3. So we have a y-intercept of -3. If the x spot is 0. Okay, so good question. Is the y-intercept always what's in the y spot? If the x is 0, then the y-intercept is the y value. Now, if the x is something other than 0, then no. I don't know that you'd have it on homework. No, that'll be tomorrow. That's not today. The next lesson. Okay, what am I writing here? Y equals 1/5 x. Then what? Okay, plus -3. I don't take that on paper. Math Excel won't like that though. What's the equivalent of plus negative? -3. Okay. -3 is just the cleaned up version. And as I said, I don't think Math Excel lets you guys do plus a negative. They force you to turn to minus to give you credit, I think. Okay, so that was an easy one. At least I think it was. They gave me the information. As opposed to B, let's look at graph B over here. As we look at graph B, I want y equals mx plus b. What do we need to find to fill in y equals mx plus b? Gonna have to find, obviously two things, but m and b. How do we find one of those? Now we all get quiet.
For n, we have to find the rise of the run.
Okay. When you're looking at our graph, what's our phrase for slope? And that is rise over run, isn't it? So, rise over run. Now, not all of us do this the same. Which dot do you tend to start at? Nothing? I don't know. When I do rise over run, I tend to start at the bottom dot. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of times you guys tend to start at the top dot. So I don't know if that's a Mrs. Rogers thing or what. But I tend to start at the bottom dot. And so if we rise, how far up am I going here? I know, not the best graph, but count carefully. How far up am I going? 3. Now, run is left or right. How far do I run? 1 to the left, which is a -1. Now, if you're saying, whoa, 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 that's not at all how I do it, Mrs. Sargent. Okay, what's the other option? If you start up top, what's your rise?
Negative.
You could go down 3, which is -3, and then you would have to go right 1, which is +1. Here's the deal. No matter which dot you start at, what is 3 divided by -1 or -3 divided by +1? They're both -3, aren't they? So I don't care which way you do this. Just realize that the slope is -3. And when there's a 1 in the denominator, don't leave it as a fraction. Go ahead and go whole number there. What else do I need besides slope?
Y-intercept.
Y-intercept. How do I find the y-intercept?
Where the line crosses the y-axis.
Okay, the y-intercept is where we intercept the y-axis. And so with that in mind, there's where it crosses the y-axis. What number is that?
4.
Yeah, it's the ordered pair 0, 4. And in other words, the b value is going to be 4. Do you know enough to write your equation? Most certainly. I hope so. Here's my start. Y equals, that's my help. Y equals what? What's m?
Negative 3.
-3. That was the last problem. -3 what?
X
X
plus 4.
plus b is +4. That's the easy stuff, guys, right? Hardest thing to do that problem was finding the slope. Okay, C and D real quick. Well, C at least real quick. What about C? M is 6 and the ordered pair is 0, 5. Do you have enough information to write slope-intercept form? Do we know our slope? Yeah, right there it says m equals 6, so that is my slope. Do we know B? Do we know the y-intercept? If the x value is 0, the y value is the y-intercept. So that means my y-intercept is 5. What's the equation?
Y equals 6x plus 5.
Y equals 6x plus 5. You got it. I don't know what happened in the middle of the class. You guys went from talkative and helpful to no one wants to talk all of a sudden. Something. Okay, D. Let's practice another graph because these are honestly the more difficult ones, just getting the slope right. Obviously, finding the slope on a graph on the computer or on a test problem, the graph would be nicer. So, okay, slope. What's my phrase for slope, class? Rise over run. Okay, what are you thinking on this rise business? Okay. She says -2. I say +2. That's fine.
Oh, wait.
Well, I personally am going to say +2, then I'm going to go up 2. If I say +2 and go up 2, then where am I going for run? I think it's 4. And that's a what type of 4? -4. Now, I think Lily changed her mind anyways, but if you instead did the down 2, then it's a -2, but then you're going right 4, which is a +4. So, don't leave it as 2 over -4 or -2 over 4, though. What do those reduce to be? -1/2. So our slope is -1/2. What about our y-intercept? I know, not the best picture. Make it work, though. What is that y-intercept? And here's what I would do if I'm not sure. My slope is 1/2, right? So if I go down 1 over 2, where does that put me? That point is -3. Yep. So my slope-intercept form, y equals -1/2 x minus 3. Okay. I know I'm running out of time here, but a couple more things I want to show you. And I am going to ask you to do the homework for tomorrow, okay? So, problem 3 is writing equations in slope-intercept form. Remind me again, what's slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. Notice, they give me an equation. Is this y equals mx plus b form? No. What has to happen here so that this is in slope-intercept form? How do I make 5x minus 4y equals 16? What do I have to do, just in general, to it to make it look like y equals mx plus b? Okay, and what's our goal then? To make this equation y equals, right? So your job right now is to make this equation y equals. Me personally, I'm going to look at this as, okay, if I'm trying to make this y equals, first thing I want to say is, okay, so what do I have? How do you move this positive 5x over to the other side? We're going to subtract 5x. If I subtract 5x on the left, we're going to subtract 5x on the right. 5x minus 5x will cancel, and I'm left with negative 4y. Okay, so one way it's 16 minus 5x, or what's the other option of how to write this? And realize, I'm not saying you're wrong, right? Yeah, 16 minus 5x is correct, as is negative 5x plus 16. And it's a personal choice how you write it. Ultimately, I tend to put my x first because I'm trying to prep us for being in y equals mx plus b form. Now, if you can keep track and realize that it's the second thing, that's fine as well. But I prefer to write this as negative 5x plus 16. Does that make sense? Am I done? No. How do I get y by itself? If it's negative 4 times y, divide. If I divide the left by negative 4, we're dividing the right by negative 4 and everything on the right. So, negative 4y divided by negative 4 is y. What's negative 5x divided by negative 4? Almost. What's a negative divided by a negative? A positive. So I'm going to write this as positive 5/4 x. If there was just one negative, I'd leave it with just one negative. But when there's two negatives, I divide them and get a positive. And then what's 16 divided by negative 4? Negative 4. So I'm going to write this as y equals 5x minus 4. Now, that is my slope-intercept form. It's also asking me for what is the slope and what is the y-intercept. What are your thoughts on what is the slope? If it's y equals 5/4 x minus 4, what's in the slope position? Okay, 5/4. If the slope is 5/4, what's the y-intercept? Or in other words, what's in the b position? Negative 4. Now, with that being said, I'm fine if you just tell me the y-intercept is negative 4. I feel like MathXL wants you to put it as an ordered pair, though. And so if MathXL makes us put it as an ordered pair, we're going to say 0, negative 4. And I could be imagining that, but I feel like in the past, they want it as an ordered pair. Okay? Now, if we get time for B, I'm going to come back to B at the end because it has fractions, which those are always good examples to work out. C and D are similar to what we just did. But I want to flip the page and look at the graphs for a moment. Okay, again, graphs are review. However, going forward, I need you to know how to graph in Algebra 2. Okay? So, what form of the equation are we working with today? Y equals mx plus b, right? Are these equations in y equals mx plus b form? No. So what's got to be my first step? Okay. So Levi's saying on A, we're going to add 2x because our goal is to get y by itself. So your goal on these, before you can graph them, is that we need to solve for y and get it in the form y equals mx plus b. Yesterday I let you guys use xy charts to graph. Today, no, we're going to practice slope-intercept. So if we're getting y by itself, to move the negative 2x, we're going to add 2x. And this becomes y equals, what is 2x plus 1? 2x plus 1. Remember, they're not like terms, so we can't add them. Now, as I prepare to graph that, I need some information about y equals 2x plus 1. Because I'm now in the form y equals mx plus b. What do I need to know? Okay, we're going to need to know the slope. What's my slope? Okay, my slope is officially 2, because it's what's in front of x, right? But what is 2 as a fraction? 2 over 1. What's our phrase for slope? Rise over run. And so if we have a slope of 2 over 1, that means when we're ready to start this problem, we're going to rise 2, run 1. But before I can graph slope, what do we have to also know? What does this 1 represent here? Y-intercept. When we know B is 1, that is our y-intercept. So when you start graphing, you have to start by using your y-intercept of 1. Where is a y-intercept of 1? X-axis goes across. Y-axis goes up and down. So a y-intercept of 1 is up 1. And a slope of 2 over 1 means from this point I'm going to rise 2, run 1. Do you remember you can do that again if you want? If you want more dots, you can rise 2, run 1. Rise 2, run 1. What else can I do? If you need more dots the other way for some reason, we can reverse it and go down to left 1. Okay? It's however you want, however many dots you need. You don't have to have this many dots. However, there will be times this year that I'll show you that I'll, encourage you to have lots of dots because of whatever we're doing. Okay. That sounds familiar, right? I don't care if you remember exactly how to do it or if you weren't great at it, but it's familiar at least. So we're building on what you hopefully already know. Now, I've got like 2 minutes left. Can you glance at C and D with me? Because C and D are special cases. I'm talking C and D in the graphs. Yeah. Sorry, I know. I saw several of you flip pages. Y equals 3. Anyone remember what that looks like? One option you can do is you can think of, it's a slope of 0. So it's y equals 0x plus 3. What's a slope of 0? Horizontal line. And so a slope of 0 of horizontal line, where's my y-intercept? At 3. Now, if you're not liking that, here's the other thing I think of. Okay, y equals 3. What does that mean about every y value we would ever graph? Y has to be 3, yes? Does it say anything about my x values? No. What if I call them 0, 1, 2? Does that give you ordered pairs? Some of you like ordered pairs. Some of you would prefer slope intercept on this one. So, you would have to divide. So, okay, so if I do 0, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, realize this is a horizontal line. Real quick, guys. What about D? If y equals 3 is a horizontal line, it crosses through the y-axis at 3. X equals negative 2 is a vertical line, crossing through the x-axis at negative 2. If you liked my ordered pair possibility, do it again. X equals negative 2, all my x's are negative 2's. Fill in whatever you want for the y's. And that gives you some points, right? So if it's x equal, it cuts through the x-axis. If it's y equals, it cuts through the y-axis. Okay? Yes, complete your homework for tomorrow. It's lesson 2.3 in Math Excel. Try and do a better job about completing the homework, please.
To purchase some honey sticks.
I get better than it. Don't be nervous.